Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area here on the Black Man Unfiltered Network, also simulcasting on the Sparta HQ Network. We ask that as you come in tonight, make sure you hit the like button, certainly as you come in, and consider, certainly becoming a subscriber to both channels. Certainly there's great content on both networks, so, we certainly encourage you to do so. And also, if you consider dropping a Cash App, certainly to, or super chat, certainly to either network, we'd appreciate that as well. You see scrolling at the bottom of the screens, our individual Cash App. So again, we appreciate everything that you do for us in these spaces. Good to be with you again on this first Sunday in March of 2025. So we're already almost like a quarter of the year is up. So it's like the years seem to go by faster as things go on. But Yasu, my brother, what's going on? How are you?
What is going on?
Yes, sir. The Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Boniotis. Yasu, my brother.
Get that part tonight. You okay? You feeling okay? You a little tired?
I should be better now. It's weird because I was telling you last night, so I had to get up 4 o'clock in the morning. Had to drop my daughter off at JFK airport. So my oldest daughter, she's in Grenada right now. She's about to do a tour of the medical school that she'll be attending over the summer. So she's there visiting. There's going to be an orientation process or whatnot there. So I came back. And you know how sometimes you're so tired you don't realize how tired you are. So I took by the time I got settled, so went to church, did all that, came back, had some lunch, went down about 2. I didn't get up till 7. So I was just like, and I only intended to take like a 2-hour nap. But sometimes you don't realize how tired you are until you actually, until actually you lay down. And by the time I woke up, I was like, oh, I got to take the dog out and all that. So it was definitely it was definitely, it was rest that I needed. Plus, I'm also coming off my training day. So my training day was Saturday. And it's usually like the day after, like the Sunday is when I'm kind of run down, sort of like the delayed soreness or whatnot kind of kicks in. But I'm feeling a lot better now, for sure. So so I'm sure I'll pick it up. If I sound tired right now, I will definitely pick it up as we go on. But, looking forward to this conversation tonight. Very interesting. And curious in terms of how Greek dating relationships work, but what was your inspiration for the subject?
A friend of mine in church has recently got married over a couple of years ago. Not a couple years, about a couple months ago. But he did everything backwards. He met her, he knocked her up, then they started dating. And then got married. And it started to make me think, maybe we're doing something wrong.
I beg your pardon?
Smart ass.
Think we're doing something wrong?
Yeah, maybe we are doing something wrong. I don't know. So I thought,
I don't think so.
This should be a conversation for our gray area.
Okay. All right. So since you led with that, so you give us your reasoning or rationale for why you think the cart should come before the horse, if you will. So what
I'm
is
not saying specifically it should. I'm not saying that. Maybe the way we're approaching dating is wrong. Maybe we should do it a different way, except hunting for it or looking for it. Maybe we should have people set us up instead.
Oh, okay.
Maybe go back to the whole arranged thing. You know what?
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I've always believed that I think dating, the concept of dating, is a relatively new concept. Maybe in the last 150 years, I would say, where dating actually became a thing. I think in a lot of cultures and societies, it was more so the culture of the society who had a lot of influence in terms of who you married. And also, certainly, like I said, I work in IT, so I've known Asian Indian culture for nearly 40 years. And so I've been in and around that. Putting a baby on layaway, I don't think so. But certainly, so I got it. That was like my first real cultural exchange where where I saw a culture that was so different than what I was used to or what I grew up with. And I remember in particular, certainly to this day, a great friend of mine, he was actually a groomsman in my wedding. I remember when he told me, he just kind of came randomly one day and told me that he was getting married. And I was kind of surprised because up to that point, he never told me that he was dating anyone or had a love interest of some kind. It was basically, say I'm going to India to get married is what he told me. And I was like, oh, okay. So maybe his girl, is a girl in India, one of those long distance kind of relationships. This was like the early 90s. So I think internet was just, coming on. Actually, no, internet was really still in its infant stages and whatnot. But, back then people, long did letters and things of that nature, or maybe visit her at home. So, okay. So maybe he had a love interest because a lot of people came here like in the mid to late 80s, and maybe he just had a love interest from back home. And, they just kept in touch or whatnot, do, letters and things of that nature, phone or whatever. But even then I wouldn't imagine phone, because back then you didn't have certainly the abundance and availability of cell phones and whatnot. So, long distance call plans, even those would be very expensive, so a lot of people didn't, you really had to be committed if you were going to be spending hundreds of dollars a month in that time to be talking to someone long distance. So that was my assumption. But then he dropped the bomb on me where he said, oh, I don't know who I'm marrying. And that was like, hit the buzz because that was the first time that, my sensibilities were kind of shaking a little bit. Wait a minute, you're going to India to get married and you don't know who you're going to marry. And so you can't sniff the jingle bells in India without. Yeah. Well, it is changing. Yeah, I would say that it is certainly changing over there. The dynamic there, but it's a blend, I would say, now with the cultural and the traditional, and certainly since a lot of those folks came over here in the 80s and 90s from school, getting their master's degrees and whatnot, and they established homes here, and so again, there is certainly a changing of values that I've seen between Asian Indian Americans versus those still in India. But nevertheless, though, you see those influence still strong, though. So then that's when we kind of had a conversation, and then I got very curious then because I started to think about what dating would be like or what have you. So that's when he really kind of broke it down to me in terms of how things worked, and then he talked about how this whole idea of arranged marriages worked. I'd never heard of that concept before up until that time. And so he was going to go there. There were several candidates or prospects, so to speak, that he was going to speak with. And then, there was going to be some decisions made. And then I found out that it's a pretty elaborate process. Parents kind of oftentimes start this off. There is aligning horoscope. I know is very big in India. Now, is horoscope, is that a thing with Greek culture as well? Are you guys
humongous?
It really huge. Okay. Yeah. So, so they're really big on horoscope and whatnot. So, so there's like a matching that takes place. Horoscopes have to align. Then you also have the families meet. So again, how do the families get along is certainly important. And then you also found out about social status classes. All right. So again, the whole idea of the caste system, again, is when I first got wind of what that was. So it's not enough just to be from the same state or have the same language or even culture, but then also your socioeconomic class also mattered when it came to the to the matching. And typically, if you were of different castes or different, socioeconomic scales or whatever, that was oftentimes frowned upon. Certainly, if you were a different religion. So, I mean, the majority of India is Hindu, but even then, there's levels to it. And then even then, there's a large Muslim population, there's a Christian population, so you typically don't have interfaith relationships. In fact, that might be. In fact, I meant to mention that to you. That might be a subject that we may want to cover in an upcoming show. I'm very interested in interfaith relationships or interfaith marriages and how those things work. Yeah, absolutely, Braxton. On some of the Mariana, again, good evening. Welcome to the show tonight. Yes, in a lot of those communities, Pakistan, all of that, I think it might have been that all of that might have been India at one point, at least culturally, and then I think they kind of formed off and did their own states. But all those cultures are very similar in different ways. They may differ by language and in some traditions, but yeah, that part of the world is pretty common in that part of the world. But I'm very interested in how certain marriages and how certain relationships work when you are of a different faith. So I was thinking about maybe we may want to do that on a future show. And if we can find some people who make it work. I mean, I'm curious in terms of how they're able to make it work in that situation. But that's always been a fascination of mine as well. How do you have multiple faiths in the family, and does that, how does that really function? But yeah, so they broke it down to me in terms of how that whole thing works. So he was going to talk to about, I think, 4 or 5 different women. I mean, certainly the one he married, he kind of knew before he left, but but certainly they weren't like dating or anything like that when he was there. And so he made a decision, and then the marriage plans came together pretty quickly. And the wedding ceremony was over, I think, a couple days, and they kind of sent some pictures and videos of whatnot of when he came back, he showed us kind of how all that worked. But just that whole approach to finding a mate was, I thought, fascinating. Plus the fact that, again, especially then, people didn't date casually. Definitely sex before marriage was certainly at that time very much frowned upon. And, so again, very traditional mindset over there. And certainly the idea of romance and being in love and dating for a number of years or whatnot, none of that stuff was really there, certainly at that time. Now, like I said, it's certainly changed over time where, people are much more open to dating in one form or another. And I'm sure people even dated back then, but you didn't make it public that you were dating anyone back then. But that was my first foray into how different relationships work, that whole idea of arrangements. And then like Braxton was saying, certainly different cultures around the world, they certainly practice this, Mr. Bennett, and they taught to despise, to stay away from black people. Anti-blackness, colorism runs deep. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right when it comes to that. I mean, but again, British influence over there, certainly, had a major influence on that. Colorism is big, even in the perception of themselves. If you look at the Bollywood scene there, even though a lot of the country is my complexion and darker, but if you look at the images of the Bollywood scene and whatnot, everybody was light-skinned or very light. Skin lightening treatments was certainly something that is practiced over there. And I remember one time I was working with a coworker who was, certainly from there, darker than my complexion. And I remember she told me that one common question that is asked when a baby is born is how light the baby is. And so, that is something that, again, that they value. The lighter the complexion, it's oftentimes considered better. So, yes, the colorism over there is certainly something that is practiced over there. But, yeah, very different world. And certainly I've met and encountered different cultures from around the world that either work off of something similar or, again, mating or dating is something that is a corporate function. It is something that the parents of the society dictates more so than individuals. Very different concept from that of the West. So, so from your perspective, being the Greek, How does typically in Greek culture, how is that weighed both in Greece and in America when it comes to your dating choices? Is it much more just date anybody you want? How does that typically work? And again, I want to work more off of what the real is, not looking at, my big fat Greek wedding or, something like that. That certainly paints a picture of dating in Greek in Greek life. Shout out to Joshua Jones tonight. Thank you for being with us. Colorism exists in every culture. Absolutely, good point. CJ Wilkins, appreciate you, brother. Thank you for supporting, tonight's show and all the networks that we're on. Appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Always dropping, support to the channel and showing us love. So I appreciate CJ Wilkins tonight. Brighter is always considered writer on earth. Yeah, it seems to be a reality in many cultures, even in some African cultures. There's the skin lightening and skin treatments and whatnot that are being done. The skin bleaching that oftentimes take place. So it's certainly a thing. But go ahead, Pete. But share, from your perspective, and then I want to kind of go into a video, so we can kind of have some fun with that regarding. Again, Greek culture and the dating scene.
If you show me my fat back, my clips, of my fat big Greek wedding.
No, we're not doing that. We're gonna, but I think what we're going to try to do is we're going to do sort of a fact versus fiction kind of thing. So we may have some fun with that. So, but yeah, go ahead and share your perspective.
So when I was younger, and this is going off the normal for Greeks, I didn't give a shit. Yeah, I didn't care if you're green, orange, short, fat, skinny, whatever. Maybe like that. But I really didn't care because I felt the possibility of me actually meeting an actual Greek woman was slim to none. And I was right. It was slim to none.
Now, why is that?
Greek are one of the few minorities here. We're a very small number.
Oh, okay. So just yeah.
Yeah. So versus, let's say, for example, a African American or a Latino or a Jamaican or Irish, Italian. Those cultures are more abroad here. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. Versus, okay, before you met me, how many Greeks do you know? That's my point exactly.
Maybe one or two. Yeah, you're right.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Right, but I mean, just in my area. But now, in this area, aren't there like Greek communities in certain, like in New York City or what have you? So like even in the neighborhood, when we went through your neighborhood, isn't there is like a large Greek? Probably. So I think a lot of it is kind of where
be the hub of Greeks, but now they have spread out. Mm-hmm. Like my community here in Strasbourg, PA, mm-hmm. I have maybe 30 people, 50 tops, and that's really pushing it, by the way. Mm-hmm. Before I got really involved with the church, I only knew maybe about 2 Greeks that I was friends with here. Mm-hmm. Think about how many friends you usually have. A good dozen, right? 2 dozen?
Right.
2 out of 2 dozen is not a lot. So the chance of me actually meeting another Greek woman, it was rare. And I don't care about the Greek part that much, to be honest with you. I don't care about that. I care more about the religion. I care about her being a good woman. I care about, am I coming in a clean house or am I coming into a freaking disaster to her throwing shit at me? That's stuff I care about. I care, okay, I'm paying the bills. I'm doing what I need to do as a man. The snow, whatever. Am I going to have a hot meal on my plate tonight? That's what I am. Small shit like that. What culture you are, to me, that's shallow, to be honest with you. Because end of the day, we come from the same place, wherever it's coming from.
Right. But now you also shared, though, that the fact, you talk about your faith. So again, you're Greek Orthodox. I mean, religion is a major component of culture. So you say at one point culture doesn't really matter, but at the same time your faith matters, your Greek Orthodox matter, which is also part of your culture. So you can't necessarily separate those.
You can't because Greek Christian Orthodox is the Greek part is where they say we say it in Greek. That's the only difference. But end of the day, I'm a Christian Orthodox.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So the Greek part is they have Russian Orthodox. The only difference they
true
say
that, true that, yeah.
They say in Italian Orthodox. That's the only reason it's different. So that's what my only pushback is. Again, I don't care as much where your background means shit to me at the end of the day.
Right.
If your beliefs are equal to mine, that's what matters more.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Well, really, I guess it depends on the church. I mean, obviously, we had the pleasure of certainly interviewing your pastor, Father Costantino, and obviously, there's certain things that are unique to at least the Orthodox, if not the Greek Orthodox. But there's certain beliefs. If you want to, for example, if you do want to get married, for example, you certainly need to adopt an Orthodox faith and be baptized in that church and whatnot if you want the marriages. So I think there are some distinctions that are considered important to the church that you would have to consider if you were going to marry someone who was not part of that. They would have to certainly be willing to convert in order for the church, in order to bless the to bless the union. So I would think that you couldn't just say, okay, well, as long as she's Christian or as long as she believes the same things that I believe. But there are very specific beliefs within the Orthodox Church that one needs to, I guess, profess or adopt, and again, be baptized into the church, and then be expected to then follow that, even if they may come from a different background.
And if you remember, Father Costantino said usually Catholics can mingle more with Orthodox more than anything because they both came from the same faith.
Correct.
They were the first founding. But before we move on, do me a favor, Bossman. Can you highlight Josh's first comment? And I want to go down the list for a second here for a reason. So right there, another Greek. I'm just the better looking one here. He's saying right there, estimated is 1.5. That's not a big number.
No.
Can you go to the next one?
But when it comes to dating, I guess let's go to, I don't know. One would assume Greek would be more, considering the text written after 50 BC would be in Greek, right? That's certainly a possibility. Yeah. But certainly, I would say that it doesn't have for the idea of dating. It doesn't have to be a large number per se. In fact, you could almost argue that having a small number in a lot of ways would make it easier. Because again, there's sort of either less options or you could be a lot more direct in your pursuit. Obviously, again, you attend a Greek Orthodox church on a regular basis. You can find where Greek Orthodox churches are. Again, if that was important to you, let's say if I wanted a Greek woman or a Greek Orthodox woman, kind of where they are. So I don't have to kind of go all over the place and be, sort of wasting time there. So if that was important, then I would think I would want to go to a place that, because it's a small number. And then you would think that the expectations, or at least the openness to getting together, would be easier. Because there's so few of us. So if I'm in an area somewhere and I meet a Greek man or a Greek woman or something like that, I'd be like, wow, oh, you Greek? Oh, okay. Let's talk. Because there's so few of us. But if there's Greek women and men all over the place or whatever, then I'm no different than any, how hard it is to find a relationship in the U.S. You'd be in the same thing. So you would think that people would be a lot more focused.
Not going to church and meeting other Greeks. That's the easy part. The part is finding single ones, because 99.9% of the chances most people who go to church are the older generation, like mine and yourself, are usually already married and have kids. The younger generation does not want to go to church.
No.
And
there's levels to that. I agree with you, and I think people, young people across the board are attending church less. But oftentimes, though, they are, everything's kind of like on a scale, like just like in with Protestants or whatever. You have what they call Easter and Christmas Christians, or you have people who get together over cultural events. You know what I mean? So again, they may not go to church regularly, but because their parents go to church, or there's events, there's festivals. I know there's a Greek Orthodox church that's not too far from me, and every year they do this big sort of cultural festival, and you can go there. There's like all this different types of Greek food, and there's all kinds of social cultural things. There's music, there's dance, and it draws a big crowd. It's like a big
the Greek festival here in my church grows a decent crowd,
right?
But most of them are in better term Xeni, meaning non-Greek. So like,
the non-Greeks show up more than the Greeks do.
Yeah, believe it or not, like the people.
Well, again, the food. I mean, again, the food that's there. The times I've went, I mean, it's definitely definitely an experience. Cash Rain Mindset. Yes, I mean, we were talking about that earlier. I mean, Peter's from Astoria area, New York, New Jersey, Tampa area, Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago. So yeah, so you find pockets, and even Eric, we're both from Highland Park. Certainly, there was a certain number of Greeks certainly within our that community. But it's weird because it was such a small town. Like I never looked at it as like a Greek community per se, because I think Highland Park, it was pretty culturally diverse. You had blacks, Latinos, Jewish. I mean, it was such a hodgepodge of people. So I never felt like I was like in a Greek community per se. Even though you might have had Greek families or Greek students that we went to school with, I never caught the sense that, they were like a dominant culture. I mean, Highland Park, primarily, what you really felt in Highland Park was the Jewish presence, because there was a lot of synagogues, and certainly on Saturdays you saw the presence there and whatnot, and you didn't,
That's my point.
Yeah.
You just said my point. And even with Cashed, I'm not arguing there are Greeks there. Please do not get it twisted. Like New York, Astoria, a place in New Jersey, in West Orange, in the Orange area, there is a good amount of pockets of Greek, but the numbers versus, say, Latinos, for argument's sake, right now, or Italians, or African Americans, the number are lower than higher. You know what I'm saying? They're not like, okay, there's like 1.5 million of Latinos and these are 1.4 million. No, the numbers are very low. The Latinos are in the billions. We're maybe closer to 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But maybe not that extreme, but you get what I'm trying to say.
Right.
It's like we're 100 versus one number kind of thing. So by that said, to me, a Gineca, a woman under my language, is going to be extremely rare. And I really never cared about that as much.
Mm-hmm.
I care about the faith more. Are you a good woman? Yes. Can you cook? Because I'm a fat ass. Yes. Can you, am I coming to a clean house? Yes. Okay, then let's tie it on kind of thing.
Right.
But I haven't.
But it seems like what you're calling for is a much more culturally based sort of arrangement. Like you said, arranged marriages or places where people are kind of put together. That comes more so from a cultural or ethnic milieu versus just people just getting together randomly. So I would think that if you're looking for that kind of arrangement, where people make you up, like I said, go back old school, go back a couple hundred years or something like that. And again, that's typically how it worked. Like I said, this whole idea of just date who you want, whoever you like or whatever, I think that's a relatively modern thing, even in this country. Maybe go back 100 years ago or 70 years ago. You typically dated somebody who went to your church or went to your high school, who grew up in the town that you grew up in. It wasn't just this sort of free-for-all, everybody date everybody kind of thing. And again, what I'm looking at, to a point that Joshua said earlier, says easy is perceived with greater amount of choices, not perceived in lesser. Honestly, I don't agree with that per se. I think that's one of the problems that people are encountering. Sometimes you have too many choices. And with the amount of choices, I know even when I'm shopping, it's like sometimes I just want to go to a place that you have a very simple menu of options. And I just want to pick my option and go. If you give me a billion options, then it's like I'm going to spend a whole lot of time there, and it just kind of slows it down. So I don't necessarily agree that more is necessarily easier or more is better. Sometimes just, the choice in front of you sometimes is the best choice to make. So I differ a little bit there. I think, especially in this country, you can do, again, however, when Burger King said, have it your way, and you can make a burger anytime you want it or whatever. I still go in there. It's like, just give me a Whopper with whatever comes on the Whopper. If there's something on the Whopper I don't want or whatever, then I'll take it off. But generally, this idea of and even you go now, all these places now, you can pick your toppings, you can pick everything on it. I'm just like, look, here it is. I either like the product or not, and I won't buy it again. So maybe I'm just one of those people who just thinks that, sometimes having too many choices or too many options is more of a hindrance than the opposite in front of you.
I'm not going to argue that one bit. I'll give you another good example. So obviously, I know a good amount of people in church. I'm known as the YouTuber in the church, by the way. So and we're famous there, by the way. But believe it or not, I met more Greeks. I mean, more Orthodox outside the church through work. Mariana, great example. She's Orthodox. I met her through a job. Remember when I was doing Uber for a little side cash on the side?
Yeah.
I met 3 Orthodox there. They realized, like, they saw the cross I had hanging in my window shield. It goes, the one lady goes, "Excuse me, are you Christian?" I'm like, "Yeah, so am I." And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I get an Orthodox in my car. Yeah. But my point is trying to get there are a good amount out there, but not as much. I'm not mistaken. My numbers are completely wrong on this. I know it already. The number of Orthodox versus Catholics are lower. And
for sure.
When we talked about the split of the church back when Father was on.
Yeah, right.
This side went Catholic and European, not all European, but most European went Orthodox.
Right.
So for me, it is important to me. And I had this conversation with my father the other day. And my father, this is where I said 100 times, we butt heads. And this is where we butt head big time. He doesn't think religion should be a matter. It shouldn't mean shit. That's to him is like stupid shit to worry about.
Right.
But studies have proven religion is one of the reasons that people do get divorced a lot too.
Yeah. I mean, that's why, again, I wanted to really in the future explore a show that goes over that, like, for those relationships or marriages that are interfaith or multi-faith. Again, how do those work for the ones that are working? How do you get that to work? So that would be, I think, an interesting show, especially if we can find a couple. So again, I'm sort of putting it out there. If anybody knows a couple that is interfaith and it's working, or at least is perceived to be working, certainly we wouldn't mind getting in contact and see if they'd be interested in having a conversation with us, because I'm very curious in terms of how that dynamic works when religion is considered an important value, certainly to a lot of people, or at least spirituality is important to a lot of different people. So, but
I'll give you a great example. I'm not going to put her name and her business out there, but what I would say, I know this Indian woman, Indian Guyanese to be exactly. Her kids are half Indian, half Italian. Okay, no problem. I don't care about that. But she let them raise to pick whatever religion they want, religion or faith they wanted to. Her son went to Hinduism. Her daughter is gravitating more Christianity. I don't think that should be the way it is, to be honest. I think, as much as I think she's a great mother, I'm not getting me wrong, from what I've seen. That's one part I disagree. If it should be raised one or the other. You can't have them like, you pick. It doesn't work like that in the world. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think there's some that do. Like I said, that's the conversation. I don't want to kind of get ahead of it, but we can use that. I know Joshua's in the chat saying he's an atheist and his wife's a Buddhist. So again, that would be interesting. And even Boss Man raised the question, would you consider a marriage that has no faith at all the same faith? It depends on how you define that. If you're talking about not having an established religion, per se, that I think that's certainly possible. But certainly, I think people believe in something. You know what I mean? Again, your value set doesn't necessarily have to derive from a religious origin or foundation. I know atheists and agnostics that are Joshua himself are extremely moral people. Like Joshua, as we see in these places, he has a very strong sense of how things should be done. He has a strong sense of right and wrong. And so the question is then, even though he doesn't have a faith at all, let's just say if he was married to someone who was similar to him that does not believe in a higher being, but they still have strong convictions on what he believes or what she would believe. And so I still think you're kind of dealing with the same thing. At the end of the day, how faith or church or whatever, how it informs or shapes your values or your morals, and can you live in compatibility with someone else? I think that's ultimately, at the end of the day, what's driving that, what would drive that conversation. So even if you have no faith at all, you can certainly still have different values. And if those values are informed by even Joshua, he says now, even though he's an atheist, his value system, right and wrong, comes from a Christian base or Christian. And I think for a lot of people, especially even atheists in America, I think that I don't think that's something you can escape per se. You may not believe in a high value, but again, the culture here has a strong Christian foundation to it. And so again, I think your morals can be shaped for it, even though you may not believe that there's anything necessarily behind it. So I definitely think that is something that is definitely possible. So yes, it can still be, we may not call it interfaith, maybe call it intermoral or intervalue, but at the end of the day, people have to decide, do we have the same values or not? And can we live under the same roof with that?
I personally think faith and values go hand to hand. That's my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It might be wrong, and that's fine. You can argue with me. You can come hunt me down and fight me if you want. That's my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But comes down to it. To me, those values are very important.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not willing to budge. And I did budge at one time. I literally said, you know what? Maybe I'm looking at things in a different way. Maybe I'm looking through a different, maybe I should think different. And I was wrong for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I admit that. I was so fucking wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because I showed it myself so much. And I didn't realize when I wasn't following my values, not only I was pushing myself away from my faith or God, I was even pushing my way from my own family. When I realized that, oh, I'm an idiot, and I went backwards, meaning I had to start over again, and I did. And I was saying it for years. I want to get back to church. I want back to church, but I never did it because the women's I was with, they said they're Christians that will go to church, yada. We stepped in church once or twice a year. That to me, I'm not gonna be a part timer. I'm gonna be a full timer or no timer.
Yeah, and I think that happens. I think that's a common thing from what I've seen, even from my side. There is, especially the kids, like you may grow up in church, maybe up until say college age. And then you go off again to college or off and sort of do your thing. You might be out of church for a number of years. But as you get older, as you've lived some life, I have seen where people return, after being out in the wilderness, so to speak, or like what they say, like the prodigal son, you kind of go out there and sow your wild oats for a while. And then you realize at some point in your life, say, you know what, I need to get back to my roots. I need to come back home, and I need to, get that sense of stability and culture and values and whatnot. So I see a lot of older people, and again, you're about to turn 40. And so to me,
me.
yeah, you said it. You said it. I didn't. But I'm just saying, but I think that's a normal thing. I mean, as we get older, as we get experience, as we've kind of been out there and things or whatnot, and and for some of us, we kind of realize or understand that, hey, maybe that stuff that I grew up on, or that sense of, and again, it may not be necessarily a religious thing. Always, some of it may be a religious thing that you start seeing, values. What I need to, you may have that conviction, and what I need to return to God. Or I need to get back to, that kind of thing. But again, it's what you grew up on. It's the culture. It's the community. When you were in Sunday school, when you were in those church picnics, and that sense of community and family, and the pastors and the nurturing, the good churches anyway, or whatever religious that you come from. I think for a lot of people, you get to a point where you'd be like, what, I need to, get back to that. And I've seen it happen when people, they've been away for 10, 15 years, boom, they come back, or especially once you have a family of your own. I think that's a real level set. When you have kids of your own, and you want them to have that sort of cultural foundation that you grew up on, that definitely brings a lot of people back to church when they have.
So let's do a little time travel for a minute here. So when I was young, when I was a little Spartan, my mother forced me to go to church. I hated it. But she didn't force me to go every Sunday. We were every second or third Sunday. All right. Didn't want to go as a kid. I want to watch Power Rangers and G.I. Joe. That's what I wanted to do as a kid. That's normal kid stuff. But when I went to Greece, I had no friends. So the first friend I met, shout out to George if he's watching this, and I met a kid named George in church. And that's where I met my first friend as an altar boy in church. And we were connected at the hip, not literally. When I came to the States, I hanged out at church like that. It didn't feel right. It felt different. Then when we moved up here, church wasn't like a skip away. It was like 30 to 45 minutes away. And so that was one issue. Then, college happened, like you said. Then after college, work happened. After work, it was other things happened. And when I really took it seriously, and like people see me that I know for years, I seen them in church. I know who they are. They don't know whom I am. Like even today, a lady goes to me. He goes, I never. When did you move up here? Like I've been over here over 20 years, lady. She's laughing at me like, seriously, like I've been over here 20 years. Like how have I seen you? And like I've been around off and on. I went to her and I took it like her mouth dropped on the ground because she didn't know my name, who I am, but I knew her name. She goes, how you know? I'm like, I know you have a diner. I'm like, her son-in-law is looking at me and like, are you stalking my mother-in-law? I'm like, no, dude, chill. I'm like, don't bum rush me. I just know everybody because I've been around. And there were like people were shocked. People come in and shake my hand. Like one old man goes, I know you from somewhere. Like, yeah, I had shorter hair. I had no awesome beard like this. He goes, and he ever since that oh yeah, I recognize you. I used to hang out at the gyro shop. Like, yeah. Now every time he sees me, like, where he pulled my beard, like, don't you touch the beard. You're gonna lose a finger one of these days. I went to him, you're gonna lose a finger. But my point is trying to get, people are trying to recognize me and like, oh, we know who you are. Yeah. And now they're remembering me. Oh, yeah, you were the kid who helped, this and this. I'm like, yeah, that was me. I'm like, why didn't you stop coming? I'm like, life happens. I said,
yeah.
I'm kind of embarrassed. Listen, I didn't want to come.
Nah, I think it's a more normal than we realize. That again, people, and again, sometimes again, especially when you're a kid, faith is oftentimes is kind of forced on you. But then you got to come to a point where you make a decision. It's like, look, I want this because I want it, not because people sort of made me do it. Go. And so yeah, like I said, I think that happens for a lot of people, and oftentimes life in and of itself will beat you up enough to know that, what, I need, like I said, I need to come home. It may not be a perfect home. It may have its drama and issues and whatnot, but it's still home. And for a lot of people, they make that transition.
And I tell you, when was it for me to go back to the church? I say it like that. I'm going back. Was when that toxic relationship ended. And I knew up here I wasn't okay. In here, I was definitely not okay.
Right.
Combination of both is like the most toxic thing you can have. We all had heartbreaks. We all had really bad breakups. But when your head is not on right and your back break up together, that is the worst combination. It's literally having a bottle of scotch and a firearm together. And that's what you're going to get. That is the worst thing you can do to any man out. I don't care how strong he is. Boss man is a Marine. He's the toughest son of a bitch out there. But Marines are tough. If I put those two combinations, even the toughest guys are going to drop on his fucking knees. And I bet $1,000 and my fucking car out there and Alex on top of that, anybody will drop to their knees. And that's what happened to me. I was on my knees. And that's where you came in my life. BMU came in my life. Freaking Black David came in my life. JT, Lost, all you guys. You guys were my therapists. You guys realizing that. Me coming on the panels and talking about my experience to open up and actually people listen was the biggest thing. But what the second biggest thing, and not even going to a therapist, that was the third step. The second step is going back to church. When I went back to the church and I met Father Costino for the first time because I just got in a pretty bad car accident, if you remember, a while back. And I looked at him like, I've been saying I want to come back, but I'm kind of scared I'll be kicked out. And he was going to bless the car. He goes to me and was like, I told him like, maybe this will be a good time to do a confession too. He goes, yeah, I have time. I'm like, okay, cool. And we're talking. We were talking for like 2-3 hours. I didn't realize how fast time passed. And one thing he told me about confession is literally a reboot of everything you've done. As long as you confess everything, God's always going to forgive you. And the biggest thing he taught today, there's the biggest things he always said today. As Christians, doesn't matter who they are, your enemy, your friends, we always forgive. Period. He was going hardcore on that today. We always forgive. We always forgive. We always forgive. Because what's it around the corner, Paul? Do you know what holiday?
Well, Easter. This is Lenten season just started, right? So.
Thank you. That's the point of it. If we're going to be Christians, full-time Christians, and the reason I say that, is we don't want to follow the rules only when it convenes us. We have to follow it all the time.
Right.
And those values to me are important.
Right.
And I'm not saying I'm going to sit here and tell you, yes, I have forgiven everybody who has burned me in the years. I'm not going to say that because I haven't. I should. Eventually I will. But right now, I'm not ready to go cross that bridge. But those values are important to me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's gonna manifest itself certainly when you start again choosing a mate. I think you're certainly much more informed on what to look for, on what conversations that need to be had. And I think, certainly your selection criteria, I think, will certainly change in this time. And the fact that you're talking about, maybe going back to a more traditional dating process, I think could be also emblematic of again, the changes that you have made and are making that, can certainly yield a benefit. Because I know of your desire to, you want to get married, you want to have family and children and whatnot. So I know that is certainly a strong desire that you have. But again, sometimes, life has to teach you or bring you to that point where you start understanding what's really important and what really matters.
One thing I will say, my selection is completely different than 3 years ago, 4 years ago, even a year ago. Because I went through my stuff, but now I know what's on the table, what my values are and all that stuff. I know that I have a focus, laser focus. If you don't meet those values, you're out. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to tell you, well, you need to change this because my faith. No. It doesn't work like that. I cannot force that on you. You have to come the full package already. I'm not saying you're going to not involve with when you get to know somebody and all that stuff. You will involve. That's part of life. Like, I know for a fact, and you're going to agree with me, when you met your wife all these years ago, you're not the same Paul back then you are now.
Not at all. Like I said, people keep talking about that document that I wrote. Like, I kind of cringe when I read it now. If I was to pull it up, because again, that's not. I mean, I still agree with a good chunk of it, but I've changed a lot. And if I was just like start that document today and just write it over, it will look very different from the document that I wrote. And even then, like I said, after every date that I went on, I refined the document, because then I took information from that date, and then I would go into a section or whatnot, and then I had to be a bit more specific or take something out or reword some things or whatever, because I just wanted a more up-to-date document. So again, your experiences do shape and inform your views and how you see things, and helps you be more specific about the things that that you want. So yeah, absolutely. That's definitely one of the things I can go back and look at and be like, yeah, I was definitely a very different person back then, but that was the season I was in. And like I said, I was just happy that, not only I was able to find my wife, but, we've been able to change, because she certainly changed through the years, and we've been able to give each other the grace to grow, to mature, to be better in the marriage, and have that elasticity, that we didn't come into it so hard fast that this is what it is. You got to let things evolve, and we've been able to do it together and accept that, and I think also really appreciate the people that we've become over the years. Like I can't say like I'm more proud of my wife now, and I think she would say the same thing of me, in terms of the people that not only that we've consistently been over the years. Like I said, I think that's always been there. Our foundations have been very strong, but at the same time, we've matured in a way that when we look at the world and how we see things now, it's like we're much more aligned and whatnot. So again, there's just an appreciation for the uniqueness of who we are, in a way that's that's really made us closer and made us stronger over the years. So and we're in the final countdown, 27 days away. We would have completed season number 28 and prepping for season 29. And so, God willing, we'll have another season to continue to perfect the institution that we've entered. So
what do I always tell you, Paul? What is one thing I always tell you? Do you remember?
Oh, that you admire, certainly, between me and CQ, you admire our relationships or whatnot, but it's a constant work. It's not like I said, it's not perfect by any means. But again, it's certainly something that we are in the constant state of perfecting. So again, we just kind of keep it in that. But again, early on, we weren't thinking like that. So again, this is something that both of us had to kind of grow into as we going on. But I think that's wisdom, that's experience, that's maturity, certainly over the years. And again, it's just you have to have some elasticity. Rigidity has its place, but then elasticity is got to be something that's there also. You got to be able to grow with something. It's like if you bought a project of one size, like it's weird. Even with my pants, with my training. So again, I'm doing a lot of squatting. I'm doing a lot of powerlifting type movements and whatnot. And I just noticed that my pants. I don't buy a pair of pants, even though my size is a certain thing, 36, 34, 38, 34, whatever the size is. It's got to have that stretch fabric in it. You know what I'm saying? So I can't be so exacting in my size as this fits perfect with it. Because again, I can, at any given time, gain some weight, especially in my posterior chain has certainly grown. So yeah, having that flexibility in my pants, even though I understand what the general parameters of the pants I should be wearing is important. I think the same thing with relationship. There's a set, some values and principles that you operate on, but you got to have that 4-way stretch if you really want to have them for a long period of time and to continue to be wearing them. Otherwise, I'd have to have a different pair of pants. I'm going through pants every month I'm changing pant sizes or whatever, or always looking for the right fit. But if you have some flexibility, it doesn't have to be exacting. It just has to, be close enough. and you can it'll wear with you as you continue to wear them.
And that is a great point because things evolve. You grow, pretty much. Think about it, like your muscles. Like you said, your legs grow when you do squats and all that stuff. Same thing in any relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot go into a relationship that you compromise your own faith.
Yeah.
So it's doomed right there from the
Yeah.
start.
Yeah.
And that's what I was doing always.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
If you cannot get on the same link with me, see ya.
Yeah.
Very simple.
And again, you may not have as many, and you may not have as many choices, but I think you'll have more hits, Because like I said, I'd rather have 5 or 6 good hits rather than 100, or 100 opportunities, So again, I think, as you get older, I do think we start to narrow cast the things that are in life that are important. I think we start to simplify some things. So again, I really believe that in this coming season of your life, you're dating, your results will be different. They may not be as many, but I think your results will be better. It'll be better quality. It'll be better.
I can tell you why I say that. I tell you why I agree, and you say that. When I was dating, I was not dating for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
I was dating for one thing: to get laid.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah.
I wanted a little pee-pee, get it wet. Simple. But I didn't take dating seriously because I didn't care. I don't think I care. Okay, she had big tits. She's hot. I want to get in her pants. Okay,
and she's 5'2", right? She gotta be 5'2".
Yeah, I don't care about that much. Like how fast? How fast can? Okay, let's put a timer. Click. Okay, game on, and that's it. That's all I'm like. But I realized the part of that realization, you're going to laugh off your ass. People laugh at me all the time. When did you realize that you don't want to date? When I grew my first real beard, believe it or not. And like people are looking like, what? I'm like, yeah, because you cannot. Oh, my beard's all screwed up. Hang on, I gotta fix that. Okay, we're good now. You cannot get into a relationship, any relationship, going 1, 2, 3. That's how fast you can get in. A beard doesn't grow up 1, 2, 3. It takes weeks.
Well, I don't know. Like what I started the show with, like I said, the Asian Indian experience that I had, or the Asian Indian experience that I was able to see. From my perspective, from certainly a Westerner's perspective, it did feel like it was 1, 2, 3. Again, it was precise. Like I said, family alignment. But again, these meetings were like literally like maybe like an hour. So it's like so like my friend, like I said, still great friends to this day. It was like you and your, you and her. Yeah, you guys go in a room and talk. Whereas the parents would then talk. So parents would be in the room talking and seeing if they get along. You and the girl, you get in the room. You guys see what's going on. Again, a lot of the work, like I said, the horoscope. I can't tell you enough how big that is huge. Astrology is huge in the dating, in the selection criteria. So again, all those things are in line, but by and large, it is a very fast process. But the culture and tradition of it all is that basically you get married and then you make it right. Or certainly the love part is certainly going to come later. Whereas in Western dating culture, it seems like, okay, you have to be in love. Again, we just had a couple shows on that, right? On what love really is or what love really means. And everybody's kind of shooting forward and how it looks different based on the person, the individual. We spend so much time pursuing love, chasing love. It's like this thing that can be elusive in a lot of situations. We want it so much, but for Indians, the bottom line is you get married, you do the work, and then love will manifest itself later. It's not, Kasim, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. Appreciate you being here tonight. So yeah, and also Wally World Media. Again, thank you also for dropping through tonight. Appreciate you being part of the stream. And again, for anybody who comes in tonight, we just ask that as you come in, just make sure you hit the like button, both not only the Black Men Unfiltered Network, also head over to the Sparta HQ Network. Again, send some love over there. Also, like and subscribe over there as well. Really appreciate it. Helps both platforms. But yeah, I mean, so again, it challenged in a lot of ways my thoughts on love, and then go back even further. Again, back in the day, if you want to talk about Bible or whatever, you had betrothals. So basically, your wife was chosen for you before you were even in puberty. I mean, it was already predetermined that this is who your wife is going to be. So I don't know if we can look at some of the things, how we look at it today, like things have to be built and whatnot. I think the work certainly has to take place, but whether it takes place in the beginning or whether it happens along the way, it seems like the work still has to continue. So when it comes to, again, to dating, do you have to be in love? Or is that the goal, is to be in love? Or is your goal to be in marriage with the hope that love comes later? And again, there's like over 1.5 billion Indians. So I can't say that the way they've done it is wrong, it has been wrong. Again, if you look at Bible or whatnot, again, betrothals, arrangements, all those kind of old school practices, and again, it still happens now, as Snake Bean was saying earlier. It happens in a lot of cultures. It happens in Africa, happens in Asia. It happens in other ethnic communities around the world, where again these things are still happening. And so, people are making it work. It says that's what, not sure the question in particular, but that's a question you would have to ask the person entering the relationship. Yeah. But again, if you're referring to the idea of, again, what's your, what are you dating for? What's your purpose in dating? I think ultimately, I think those are the expectations that you get from the dating process. Some people, I think, are dating just to be together, or just for sexual or what have you. Some people are looking for long term. But again, if your expectation is the long term, if you're talking about until death do you part, then does love or that feeling or that jubilation or that that sensation, does it have to be there, where you're so head and heels over this person to say, okay, I'm going to live the rest of my life with this person? I think in the West, I think we put a lot more emphasis on that than other cultures do. And I think sometimes that may come to our detriment. I just do, because you'll spend chasing love, or this sense of being in love, or this ecstasy, if you will, of being so in love, and oh my gosh, and this person just got me making me tingle all over the place. But at the end of the day, is it, is that going to sustain you? Because even in marriage, I don't get the tingles all the time. Neither does my wife either. But, certainly that's something that is, we gotta, I think we have to rethink this. So that Joshua says males generally are not seeking emotion, which would include that love of what you speak. I think generally I can kind of understand that, but I think Jeff TV, thank you for dropping in, my brother. Well said. We put way too much pressure on love, when choosing mates. But I think again, dating, I think in general is not done, I think, with a purpose. With a purpose. You must be talking about talking to the females. Maybe I am. But for anyone, again, but again, certainly females raise the males. So again, this idea, and we've seen enough romance TVs and all this kind of stuff where, again, the men, they seem to be looking for that special person also. I'm looking for that special person. So I think, I don't think men are necessarily not impact all of that. Lost in translation, loved it. All this. But it's a reality of our time. that people are looking for. But wanted to do a quick transition since so our Peter being Greek. I want to have some fun. We got into this is some deep conversation that we're in now, but I wanted to introduce something to Peter. This video that I
You
found.
show up at my fat Greek wedding, I swear to God, I'm choke slamming you.
It's not my big fat Greek wedding, but I think it's something that we can certainly have some. There are no toys and Toys R Us prepping young boys for marriage. Yeah. I certainly would agree with that. But let's have some fun here. Let's lighten this up a little bit from this serious and deep conversation. Let's bring a little levity to the situation. I'm going to try to share my screen here, and let's see if we can get this. Let's see if we can get this to work. So let's go here, and I'm going to share. Hopefully this will work. And again, we're going to put up fair use. So again, boss man, if you're in the back, certainly before I do this, certainly if you can put this the fair use.
That's legal.
Put the fair use up. So okay, so it's maximized or whatever. So I'm gonna play some of this. Let's play some of this, and at each point, we'll do a pause, and then we'll get from Peter whether or not this is legitimate or not when it comes to dating Greek women. And let's see if we can get this to work. So, boss man, if you can bring that video up, if you're in the back, let me see if I can get this to. Let's see if we can get this to work. Okay. All right, so pause it there. Pause it there. Okay, so if you can go back a little bit on that, I just want to get that last part, the commentary, certainly on the video. So as we saw in the video, the women, very touchy, meeting people or whatnot, very kind of handsy. And again, depending on the culture, some cultures it's just like women are not supposed to touch men that are not familiar to them at all. But we see here, we can go through this again. Just pause it at that point when the commentary comes up. So again, okay, so physical contact is really common in Greece. Just because she's touchy with someone doesn't mean she is interested or dating them. All right, so is that true or false?
That's actually true. So I was at a friend's house, and I was so used to the American culture at this point. Greek guy, his cousins flew in Greece, and the dude's cousin was going to come in a day or two. So his wife was there. The whole time we're joking around, laughing, ha ha ha, talking. All the time she's like grabbing my shoulder. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like 21, 22 at this point. I was like, does she want to bang me or what the hell is going on? And then I snapped. I'm like, oh crap. I forgot she's not freaking American. She's Greek. And that is very common. When I see somebody I haven't seen in a long time, I greet them with a kiss on the cheek on both sides. That is common. Even get ready for the pause buttons, guys. Even the men believe it. You kiss them on the cheek. That is common.
Yeah, greeting. Yeah. See that obviously French culture. There's a lot of different cultures where again the even it's interesting because even in the Christian faith they say Paul said when you see each other greet each other with a holy kiss, but that's typically something that you don't see even the church guys doing anymore. At least I don't know. Do Greek Orthodox is
Oh, hell no.
Is that something that when Father Constantine when he greets you or he meets another a minister, so do they do the holy kiss? Do they do
it
that?
In a little different way. They do it like the cheek to cheek kind of thing.
Right.
And when you as an Orthodox, I have to say, when you greet your priest, you always want to shake his hand, right?
Yeah.
You actually have to kiss his hand.
Oh wow.
That is the most disrespectful and biggest sin you can create in the Orthodox religion. Constantino's a little weird about that because me and him are not much difference of age. We're like 1 or 2 years. He's 1 or 2 years younger than me, and he got we had this talk over lunch once. I'm like, listen, Father, you're my priest still. You're my boy, but you're my priest still. And he always went to the hug pound always with me, and now where it goes from the hand kissing to hand, then to the hug pound. We have like this weird, like kind of weird thing, and we were looking at us like,
there's the first there's respect, and then there's the brotherly affection. I get that. I definitely
exactly.
Get that. But just going back to the Greek women. So again, that can be depending on the culture. Again, that can give off some mixed signals to men. If you're coming up on them, if you're hugging them, or right away, and again, you're not even dating or whatever. I mean, does that get confusing for, I guess, women in America, Greek women in America? Is that something that a father would tell his daughter, hey, don't do that here, or tell the mother would tell, hey, don't be doing that here, because here in America, that's going to be taken very differently than if you were home in Greece?
I assume, but I'll give you a better example.
Okay.
Last time I was in Greece, I'm just at a coffee shop with one of my cousins. We're all having coffee, joking around, ha ha ha, laughing, and they're trying to challenge how good your English is. I'm like, boy, I'm gonna run you through the mill, because that same day I was hanging out in the cafeteria till she finished class so we can go out for coffee after the whole group. So the teacher, my cousin goes to the teacher. He goes like, yo, my cousin knows more English than you do, so he's my teacher. And she tests me. I put her in her place, whatever. So at a coffee shop, just mind my business. The dude's girlfriend sitting next to me. My cousin's over here. All of a sudden, she starts grabbing my hair and starts playing with my hair. I'm like, she was like literally twirling my hair. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, my own, but like, I don't give a shit, really. Like, and I looked over to him like he didn't give a shit. Right. He really didn't give a shit because it's common. It was so common. It's like, she was just fucking around with my hair like this. It was like a friendly thing. I'm like, here, like, it was pissing me off because like, you're fucking my hair up with all that gel. I'm like, not pissing me off. Like, come on, really? Kind of like a teasing thing, like not a romantic teasing, like a friendship teasing kind of thing. So it is common, like very common, like eating, like. It is a certain line, ready for this? You're gonna like this part. A gray line or a gray area,
right? That
you do cross and you don't cross,
right?
So the gray.
And I would think line, even here, I think, and again, and it's hard. Even when I saw the subject initially, I was a little. The only thing that kind of confused me a little bit, or I thought the challenge would be, is because America is such a large country with a lot of different ethnicities and whatnot. But I think I would certainly agree across the board here in the States, regardless of your cultural background, I still think that kind of activity would generally be frowned upon here. So I don't know if you're in the Black community, African community. Again, there's certain communities where, again, you're not, as a woman, you're not supposed to touch a man. I know in a lot of Muslim communities that I know, unless you know that woman well, your daughter, your sister, a relative, your wife, you're not supposed to. I know there were Muslims that wouldn't even shake hands with a woman. That was frowned. You don't even shake hands because of that. So I think that I would say across the board, even in a country as diverse as the United States is, physical contact with someone who is not someone who you know well is generally going to be frowned upon. So when I saw that in the video, that's one to kind of bring up that, is that something that Greek women, or from your experiences, that's something that you could see it being a problem, especially if you're trying to be date in the United States?
Yes, it is a problem, and the only reason it's a problem because as Americans, we still live in the dark ages with stuff like that. Because the European countries have moved way past that stuff.
Right.
Like, it's some things they do have issues, like even with their different sexualities and stuff like that. Yeah, that's always going to be an issue. But they're not in the dark age. Oh, he touched my shoulder. Sexual harassment to the cops. I want him arrested right now. Get Bitch, get the fuck out of here! I slap you so hard, your sperm again. So that is the stuff that we're in the dark ages. Like a guy looks over at you. Okay, yeah, you're an attractive woman. He looks over. Okay, what's the big deal? He looked. He didn't touch you. Is it illegal to look over? Fuck you.
Yeah.
Like this is why I say we're in the dark ages. The video right there explains it right there. Point blank.
Gotcha. All right, so let's go on with the video. Let's bring that back to the floor, and let's get to the second part of it.
Hey, are you two guys together? No. Hey, would you want to go on a date with me?
I don't know you.
That's okay. Just do it.
No.
Okay.
Wait, what? Wait, don't get the Wait. She likes you.
Like,
Okay. She likes to play hard to get. That's because she wants you to pursue her. Okay. So, now again, this is kind of touchy. Yeah, you can pause it there. Yeah, definitely. Okay, now again, in today's world, at least in this country, no means no. So if you now back in the day, I knew some OGs that again, especially if guys back Uncle Jeff, those guys in the panel, guys, if you wanted her, you would try, first time, second time, third time, you would just keep shooting your shot until she just gave in to you. But in today's time, if she says no, bye, and just like that guy pulled out, he was like, I'm gone. But now she comes back and says, oh, wait, oh, she really does like you or whatever. Here, take the number. So again, from your experience dealing with Greek women, do they play hard to get? And is that something where, should a man be undeterred from her initial rejection and keep coming back at her? What would you say to that, both in Greece and being Greek American? How does that have you seen that, and how would that how does that work?
I've seen it both ways. I've seen girls literally say to me, no, but they mean, hey, stupid, try harder. I've seen that still around. And I've seen it, Greek, and like most Greek women, if a guy came up to her like just like that, like, hey, sitting there minding on his business, a girl comes up to him like, hey, do you want to go on a date? And like, you're gonna be laughed at pretty much, because they wanted to know who you are first. They want to get to know you as a friend, as a foundation. Most, I'm not saying you cannot say, hey, Paul, Maria over there, I think you guys should link up. I think you guys would be a good couple together. I'm like, oh, I don't know, man. But like, okay, you know what? I'll invite her for coffee. I'll invite you in coffee. I have my girl there. You sit next to her and you take it from there. That's the typical way. Most Greek girls, other way, if you say, oh, you see a typical girl, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. I think I like her, but I want to get to know her. Like, oh, she came across your Facebook ad. They won't be like, oh, who the hell is this? No, I'm like, hey, what's going on? They will start talking to you. They will not have hesitation in that one bit.
All right. But I guess in this particular situation, so again, I know we have social media now, so that kind of changes the dynamic, but I want to more so in the
old school
in the place, and just for full transparency, this video is also a little bit older. I think it's 7, 8 years old, so it's highly viewed, but it's definitely a bit older. So again, I know there's been a lot of changes that have taken place in this period of time. So the idea that people, meeting face to face is becoming, or meeting a woman on initial interaction, I see certainly a lot of guys pulling away from that. Guys are less likely to shoot their shot at a woman that you see, like in this setting. They're in a public setting area. You see a girl, you like her, you go over, you say hi to her, and hi, can I get your number? Can I, hey, have a conversation? Again, or generally Greek women, are they going to be much more like, if they say no, should you continue to pursue? Because again, as it says here, because they want you to pursue them. Should you be undeterred by her initial rejection of you? Should you go back? Also, again, keeping in mind that this is some time back, and have you seen in recent years, last couple years, changes in terms of how people would approach that situation?
That is a very hard question to ask, because that can go either way. It can backfire in your face really, really bad, or it could be really good for you. It really depends on the woman. I don't think it's a Greek thing. I don't want to say is a Spanish thing. I don't say it's a black thing. I say it's a woman thing.
But what about you though? But you're part of. You mean your willingness to interact. So again, you're in a public setting or whatever. We were at Comic-Con or whatever. You saw a nice, attractive girl. Would you go over there and would you kick it to her? Would you introduce yourself? Are you less deterred or more deterred from doing such a thing now to go up and meet someone individually? Honestly, I can honestly say myself, if I saw somebody that I found attractive, I would certainly go over and I would introduce myself. Call me old school, call me whatever, but I'm still very much, I would introduce, hello,
Few years ago, I would have agreed with you. I would have done that a few years ago. Now, how everything is, if you go up to someone and says, "Hey, hi," start talking to them, they might consider harassment. So you gotta be very cautious how you talk to people. And I have gone up to people, we're in line, and girls are from me, like, not because I'm gonna try to hook up, or like, hey, did you see his last movie, by the way? Oh yeah, man, that was awesome. And like King just said it, he won't, because he knows the payback. Plus, my shows kick his ass probably, most likely. Actually, step on him because how it told whatever.
Actually, we need to get King back on the show, because we never got to the part about him and Michelle, how they hooked up in there. And again, shout out to King Smith. Certainly give a shout to his channel, The King and Me, King and M.E. They have certainly a relationship channel that comes on, I think, Monday nights at 7
I have a better
7 p.m.
I have a better idea. King, do me a favor, drop the King and Me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, drop your link in there, and certainly shout you out. But they have a really good show, and certainly give them.
They have an extremely good show, and you can learn a lot from their relationship, because they put it out there in the open, and somehow they make it work. And if we make it work, that's what matters. But back to what we're saying, I wouldn't do that anymore, because it's too risky. Because they might consider harassment. Like, if you're having a Comic-Con is a little different. It's like a weird scenario, because you can be, hey, you're talking about the actor you're about to meet, or you're about to get a book signed, or you're in. Great example. A girl named Elizabeth. She's one of my Star Wars creators who jumps on the panel once in a while. I met her through Comic-Con, through the Next Level panel, when we interviewed these guys.
Right.
And we're just sitting down, we're talking. Like, she goes, "Did you show my license? You're a Star Wars fan?" I'm like, yeah. I go, "Well, just a little bit." "Oh, you wanted me?" I'm like, and we just bullshit. She's married and everything, like, but that's how we started talking.
Right. But do you think the same dynamic is in Greece now, or do you think it's more so an American thing? So if I'm in Greece, if I was a single guy me and you went to Greece, and I saw a Greek woman there, and if I wanted to say hello to her or whatever, is it more open for me to shoot my shot there than here in the States?
You have a good chance to open your shot. She probably looked at you like you're weird going up to her just out of the blue like that, because it's not common in the culture like that. It's more common, like, you meet a girl through a friend, or you're at a bar and she's there, and like, and tell the bartender, "Hey, I want to buy her a drink." And then she comes up over and says, "Thank you." The old school way, like that. Yeah. Come up to her like, "Hey, you want to go on a date?" And like the way he did in the video. No. The way in the video is wrong. If you find a way to kind of talk to her, like say, "Oh, she's like, oh, are you a Olympiacos is one of the soccer teams in Greece? Oh
Mhm.
yeah, I'm Olympiacos. Kind of break the ice with a conversation and then ask for her number.
Right.
And like, hey, we should get coffee sometime. Like a simple date. Like, yeah, I think you got better chances like that.
Gotcha. All right, let's continue with the video. Boss man, we bring that back up and continue play.
Boss man, wake up.
Oh, did I tell you about Kostas' girlfriend? She's gained like so much weight. She's like 200 pounds now. You know which Kostas I'm talking about, right?
Kostas, who's dating Ellen.
No, that's Kostas Yovanopoulos. I'm talking about Kostas Giannopoulos.
Who's dating Maria?
No, it's Kostas Michalakis. You know what? It's okay. I can't get your friend's John straight either. Oh, but speaking of Eleni,
So she loves the guys. Don't pretend to keep up. So are they known for the got true? So true or false? Are they
Oh
known to be
hell
gossip?
yes, true. And definitely with the old school ones, so like I hear my mom all the time, like "Η πουτάνα έκανε αυτό, πήγε από εδώ." I'm like, man, you haven't seen this woman in fucking 10 years. I'm like, why are you still talking about her? Like, I wish I had this button for her when she's doing that.
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the fuck up.
One thing
So
I
there's
always
there are no secrets.
no, I'll put it this way: if you are dating a Greek woman from the church, give it a week before anybody knows how small the culture is here.
Yeah,
it was.
But then she may let everybody know that you're dating before you do.
Oh, she will, not me. She would.
Man. All right, we can
I'm telling you,
right.
if you're dating a Greek woman, you know how people say, "Oh, I like you my life private." Yeah, good luck with that with a Greek woman.
All right, so no problem. All right, so that may be red. So yeah, Americans in general,
I'll give you a better
we
example.
like our privacy.
We're outside, having I was smoking, having coffee, whatever, back then, and according to my ear, I'm hearing my boys, girls talking about like, man, my man is the man, and she goes, and the other one's like, oh no, my man's the man. I'm like I'm creeping up, and I want to hear this conversation. I'm like, I'm not being nosy. Listen,
Right.
man, he fucked me so. Oh hell no!
Oh, they going into deets?
Oh, they got it in details. He spit it this way. He did. I'm like,
And that
Cut it.
oh, they got graphic too.
wow,
They went
wow.
point to point.
See, we don't have that. See, and it's at, I know in the barbershop this past Friday, they tried to get into it. I'm not even going to repeat what the topic was, but yeah, they try to pull information out of guys. It's like, look, don't kiss and tell. You know what I mean? You may talk about some general topics, whatever, but again, private stuff, I don't kiss and tell on. But yeah, that seems to be something with Greek women that they share everything. So be mindful of that if you're mindful of your privacy. But boss man, you can continue with the next one, the next part.
I hope he's awake.
Her family can kick. So if I was to go to a Greek dinner or a date over your first of all, let me ask you this before we even go there. How important is it then for you if you're dating I want to hear it. If you're dating, how quickly or is it important that you meet the family? Or have you over for family dinner or something, or does it mean anything? In other words, if you brought somebody over for dinner, does it automatically mean it's like, oh, they're serious? Or is it more so, oh, they met here checking out or whatever, but it doesn't mean that you're necessarily committed or whatever? What is the significance of either you going to her family's house for dinner or she coming to yours or whatever? Is that does that mean something differently with Greek culture than it would with, say, an American cultural situation?
Put it this way: if you're official and you're dating a Greek and you're a Greek too, I'll give you 2 weeks tops. If both sides have not met the family, it's very important.
So you're talking about let me specify. You're talking about at the point that you guys become official.
Yeah, a couple.
A couple.
Yes.
Okay.
Not on a date. Like a date doesn't mean you're a couple. A date usually like seeing if you have the same, vibe and link and all that stuff.
Right.
When you're saying, hey, you want to make this official, you want to go out with me, you want to date me, whatever you want to call it, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you say, okay, yeah, we're gonna be exclusive, we're going to be a couple. Give it 2 weeks, and I'm pushing it now very much to her mom or your mom or whoever just, why he's not over for dinner yet? I'm like, oh Christ, don't embarrass me, Mom. That's the first thing you're gonna say out of your mouth. Then baby books come out, all of this stuff. I'm like, and
they're bringing out the baby pictures,
bro. You have no idea how many times my mom has embarrassed me with baby pictures.
Mm-hmm. Although I will say this, I remember the first date that I did have with my wife. I did go over to, and again, maybe this might have been a thing that I don't know because of my age, because Gen X. Maybe this is something that we did, but first date, we go over to our house, and she brings the picture books. She brings the photo album out. So I'm in there looking at old pictures from, her times in college, her siblings growing up as kids, is all that. We're just kind of scrolling through the photo album. And I don't think people do that these days. One, people don't have photo albums anymore. Everything is on phone or Google Pics or something like that. So yeah, but the big photo albums, yeah, that was, and I remember even when I was dating, going on several dates, it's like we go to dinner or whatever. If we went back to our house and, continue to talk, I have a conversation, we would certainly go through the photo albums. That was just a part of getting to know somebody, was to go through those albums. So again, that is not so foreign a concept. Now, the more I think about it from my own dating history, that was definitely a part of the getting to know you process. So you saw when she had the buck teeth or braces, or she had the big 4-eye glasses, or whatever it is. Thank you, Lady Navoa. Appreciate you for the $1.99 super chat. Thank you so much. But yes, so that is definitely a sign that you were at least Gen X if you went through the photo album back then in the States. And I don't know, for folks in the chat, do you recall going on dates? And part of the date, or at the end of the date, let's say the date went well and you guys are conversing or whatever, and you bring the photo album out and you're on the couch going through if a girl shows you a photo album, that means she really likes you. That's a fact. Yeah. So it definitely was a positive, because yeah, I mean, you're showing certainly the inner part of their family and whatnot. But yeah, that was definitely a thing. But but let me back up a little bit for you, Peter. As far as you're talking about when you become exclusive.
Before we go there,
yeah,
my mom has brought this one picture. I'm going to say on here, I don't care because you're not going to see it, because I'll get somebody's eyes out. She has it hidden in the house. I'm trying to fucking find the goddamn picture. Mm-hmm. It's me, maybe 2 years old, and she took a picture of me butt naked. And she shows this picture to everybody. See how little Peter's wiener was back then? I'm like, oh, Christ almighty. So did you just CQ.
Does your mom want you to get married or not?
She showed this.
You should tell her, Mom, if you want me to get married someday, stop showing that picture. Stop showing that picture. She showed
it to even my guy friends. She showed it to everybody. Mm. So back to your original question was, yeah, you're going to meet him very soon. It's not
right. But I'm saying, but how in Greek dating, you're talking about when you decide to become exclusive. Is that relatively short, or could that take weeks, if not months, before that happens?
Under 2 weeks.
So it's less than 2 weeks from, say, the first date to being exclusive, and then less than 2 weeks from there that you go and bring her to family dinner. Yeah, first day, a lot of the dates when I was going through that process, again, you know, you would certainly, obviously, you would have conversation, you would talk to them and whatnot. You go out on a date or what have you. Again, you would go back to the house and you know, have some coffee or just conversation. It was just, back then, it was not uncommon to go to someone else's house, either my place or her place or whatever, if it was comfortable, you know, if you felt the comfort with them, to invite them back. Again, it wasn't sexual per se. It was just to get to know process. And again, if they let you into their private space, at some point in time, the photo album would come out and you would start looking at pictures of the person. And I remember, in fact, I think certainly for the women that I dated, that was generally the process. That was just kind of how it worked, you know. And so, yeah, you get their mom, their dad, their siblings, their whatever, their trips that they went on, and talking about, oh yeah, I went here. Oh yeah, let me show you the photos. Yeah, I went to the Caribbean. I went to Europe, and here are the photos. And we going through the photo album. We're just flipping, and every picture has a story and where things were. Yeah. Again, I admit, very different today. I think certainly for the Gen Zers and maybe some of the younger millennials than my time. Because like I said, people don't typically collect photo albums anymore. Everything now is just swipe left and swipe right through the photo albums on your phone. But certainly those albums, you took time, you know. So again, that trip to a certain place, you put all those photos into one album. When you know, your family photos, you put those into a particular album so you can go to a particular volume and reference and talk about it. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Photo albums. Yeah. That might be certainly a dying medium, to share, information, but certainly that is certainly something that we did. But so Pete, you're still saying couple. So you talk about within a month's time, you know, your parents going to be like, okay, so when you're inviting him or her over, or when you're inviting her over to dinner, we need to meet her.
Most likely, you know, when you pick up the girl, you're gonna already met him. You know what I'm saying? 95% chance you're gonna pick her up from the house. This is rare when she says, "Hey, I'll meet you at the restaurant."
Okay, well, actually, that's something we didn't even discuss. Yeah, so Greek dating is more likely than not you're gonna pick that person up from their home and not just say, "Meet me over at Starbucks" or whatever at a certain. Right. At a certain time. Okay. So you're gonna have to meet the family pretty early on. For the chat. You know, certainly, are you open to that still? Would you, you know, if you're a guy, would you go to her house, whether she lived on her own or if she still lived with her parents, for the first date? Are you open to then going to the home, ringing that doorbell, getting out of that movie Bad Boys? I don't know if you saw the Bad Boys franchise, and the guy,
I have.
The kid comes over to the house, and they kind of, you know, pat him down and read him the riot act or whatnot. In fact, he was in the last movie. He kicked butt in the last movie. But you know,
over the years.
Yeah, exactly.
Come out with a gun, like,
so they took him through that. But would you as a man, would you know, be willing to kind of go to that, go with the flow, especially if it's good? I'll go in and say, okay, all right, appreciate that. But yeah.
Okay, so when you meet a Greek parent, the first thing that you know, they're going to shake your hand. Number one, you always shake their hand but I want you to shake their hand like a woman. I want to shake their hand. I mean, like a man. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. First thing they're gonna say, "Hey, how are you doing? How was your day?" Yada yada. By the way, what do you do for a living?
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna start with those kind of conversations.
Yeah,
and then get into it a little bit, you know, because most likely she's not gonna be ready when you get there. Let's be honest.
Right.
She's gonna say, "Oh, I need another 5 minutes. 5 minutes are gonna turn into 25 minutes."
So is that their opportunity to, I guess, interrogate you in the meantime, or what's going to happen in that?
Women don't have a time and sense. Every woman I ever dated is always late.
Okay. But again, that would give the parents an opportunity, right? If they want to ask you
Yeah, of
questions,
course.
hey, what do you do for a living?
Because
Where you're from?
the
Where you,
first meet with the father or the mother is not as bad as you think it is. It's just just having bullshit like, hey, how are you doing? How's where are you from? What kind of work do you do? Are you in school? Small stuff like that.
Mhm. Now,
Nothing big.
also in Greek culture, if you are going to go over to the house for the first time, is it appropriate to bring something? I
Absolutely.
know some flowers or some, again, I'm for I know Braxton, this might be way over your head at this point. I mean, I'm talking about very old school traditional stuff there, but yeah, some flowers for the mom or a cigar for the dad or whatever, or a bottle of wine or something. Is that typical what a Greek man would do?
I won't say wine, but will you bring something like maybe like a little Danish or yeah, you might bring wine. It depends on the family,
Mm-hmm.
but not as much.
Mm-hmm.
But Danish is you'll bring in maybe something like a snack on. Like you'll bring something. You won't come in empty-handed for first time. Even if she's your girlfriend or you're visiting a friend, it doesn't matter. You always bring something in. Like for example, if if I was visiting your house, but even me, I do it to my friends who are non-Greek. And let's say you call me up today, yo, what are you doing on the 3rd, for argument's sakes? I don't know, I'm just chilling home. Like, you want to come over? I'm having a barbecue. Okay, I'll come over. I drive an hour up there. I'm gonna bring something. I'm gonna ask you, do you want me to bring? Most likely, knowing you, you said nothing. We're good, man. We're good. I'm still gonna bring something.
Yeah. Can you bring up Lady Navoa's question? She had a question I wanted to kind of get to it before we finish the video. So, question: who will get married first? B, I'm not sure about being black or other cultures who will shack up for years before the ring. Good question. I'm assuming you mean black people will get married first. I'm not sure quite the context. If you could just specify that, and we'll try to get you an answer to the question. And then her next point. Yes, and you asked the dad if he present or next male in her life for her permission to marry her. So again, is that something I would think that's a yes, right? If you wanted to marry,
Not as common anymore, but it is still practiced somewhat. It depends what kind of family she's from. If she's a family like, listen, dude, you don't need my permission. You can marry her. She's a grown ass woman. Some family like, she doesn't need my permission, but thank you. And some people are like, you better ask me or I'm gonna chop your dick off. Simple.
Yeah.
Like it's.
I think back to our first question. So again, say if other cultures, now again, is it also common for a Greek couple to live together before they get married?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay. So again, but does that lessen the likelihood that they'll get married, or will they kind of like, it'll increase it?
Yep. So the theory behind that is, I know priests don't agree with it, and that's fine. Is you live together, at least you have less chances of having breakups or divorce with a child in the middle. That's the point of that. So you live together for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, right? I wouldn't push anything over 2 years without marrying her, because then the family's gonna be asking what the hell's going on here. So they're trying to figure out, okay, why are you guys, you guys are working well. Maybe you're dating for 2 years, a year, 2 years, whatever. Let's say that's the time limit. Like you guys talk like, let's take the next step, move in together. And she moves in. And you see if you mingle too. It's one thing when she's just hanging out at your house, because she can leave whatever she fucking wants. But when you're arguing, you're living in the same house, that is a different ballpark. Hey, you know that more than I do.
Right. But I still find it interesting, because especially if she's Greek Orthodox, she would do that with the church.
That's very common in Greek Orthodox, even Greek in general.
Really?
Because again, I know priests don't agree with it. I know Father Costin was on a panel. Was like, he's been shaking head. Nope, I don't disagree. It's against everything the Bible teaches us. But the chances of having a divorce with a child in the middle is less chances.
Interesting.
Think about what I'm saying.
Yeah, also, like I said, my wife and I to this day, I don't think I don't think living together again. And I would have to try to get some metrics on that, some statistics if I can find them. I don't know if living together, cohabitating, if you will, before marriage increases the likelihood of marital success. I would have to do some research.
It increases. It has less chances of having a child in the middle with a divorce.
Well, what's the difference?
Think about it. If you say you live together and you moved in after you guys married, right? And then she got pregnant, she had a kid. In a year or 6 months later, you'll realize, I love her, but I cannot live with her. I can't stand her. And now you're having issues. Then next minute, you know, you're divorced. Then you moving out. Then your child support, custody battles, all that stuff in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
But if you guys live together, like, and you realize, okay, I can live with her, fine. I don't have issues with that. Our living patterns are the same.
Right.
So
I don't know. I guess in my situation, I've seen a lot of situations where people have cohabitated for a number of years. But then once they get married, it's like everything changed. It just did. They were divorced in under 2 years. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if living together will guarantee or increase your likelihood for marital success if you do so. Again, but I would, certainly that might be a topic for another show. I may need to get some more information.
Before we move to the comment, Greek women are a little sneaky. I'll tell you why. So they always they come over, they spend the night, they'll leave their clothes there. Okay, whatever, right? Next time they come over, they bring more clothes. And next time you bring no clothes. And all of a sudden, before you know it, like she's moved in out, you saying anything like, hey, wait, how are all your shit into my house? Oh, I thought we were living together already.
Mm.
What the fuck? Where the conversation? When did I find this out? Like, it just happens. Sometimes it's just natural progression.
Yeah. I think, and again, we want to get to I think I know what she's saying now, that certainly in the black community, I would say that you certainly have more and more cases of people who simply choose to cohabitate to a point, and marriage is not necessarily on the agenda. And you can certainly have kids, you can own property, you can do the baby has the last name or what have you, but marriage isn't necessarily a consideration. Whereas I would think in Greek culture, if you choose to move in with her, is the goal to see, okay, this is like the last step before we get married, is the expectation that we're moving towards marriage here, but we want to spend some time together in the cohabitation to assume, right? So I think just based on that expectation, I think in some cultures, especially again African American community in particular, people may choose to cohabitate, but not necessarily marry. And that is, I think, certainly something that comes from, again, your values, your traditions, or whatnot. But it's not necessarily something that's going to be emphasized that marriage is necessarily the goal. It's like, can we live together a little bit first, and then maybe we'll talk about marriage down the line. But the intent is not necessarily there that, okay, this is like our marriage trial run. So again, you don't set that expectation, and unfortunately, I think when you don't do that, like I said, I wouldn't do it, but certainly I think when you don't set the expectation, I think that's why you can spend a lot of time in a cohabitating state, but marriages will still fail because, again, there's not that expectation that's there.
So, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. So let's so we can get back to the video and finish up. Got a couple minutes left, and then we'll close out the show. So before we even talk about this, so obviously this is a very loud scene at dinner. So again, the expectation, if you go to a Greek house for dinner, it's going to be a very boisterous affair, where could be a lot of talking. And the one thing also about the video is it's like no one's really interacting with the man. They're kind of talking his family stuff or whatever, and he's trying to see if he can get in where he fits in. Also, they're probably talking Greek, which is another thing that, obviously if you choose to date a non-Greek man, then is the expectation for everyone to speak English in this case when the guy comes to the house, or will people be just doing that? Blah, 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 speaking and whatnot, and you're just trying to fit in. Because I think that's one thing in the video. It seemed like he looked a little bit uncomfortable with everything that's going on and him not feeling included. What do you think about that?
I feel when you talk in Greek in front of other people who are non-Greek, who don't know the language, is very rude, to be honest with you. But
some people don't care. Like I said, I've been in a lot of different cultures where that's done. It's normal, and people, they don't care regardless of the language. I've seen quite a bit of that.
Spanish are, I hate to say this like this, and I do apologize who I offend. Spanish people, in my opinion, they're the worst with that because they know you don't speak Spanish, and they're like, and they do it on purpose too. And I know they do it. And I caught them. I'm like, I don't might not speak Spanish, but I understand a lot more than I know what I say. And I looked at them like, if you're gonna talk shit in my face. I literally have embarrassed people like that. But my mother, I don't want to tell her say she's exception not a rule, but she's not. But she doesn't speak that much English. She saw she was on live. She did the best she could.
Right. And I've certainly seen that with Asian Indians, because you got to understand, for most Asian Indians, English is their third language. So they have like their mother tongue, whether it be Telugu or what have you. Then the national language of India is Hindi, and then English is like on the third. So I've been, again, to a lot of Asian Indian gatherings. And if you're amongst someone who's like a country person who knows, Tamil or Telugu or Gujarati or whatever, you'll speak those languages to someone who's familiar. But even then, if you're in mixed company, let's say like a Diwali festival or something, Hindi then will be spoken quite a bit. And then English is like the third thing that's spoken when you're there. So I had been in situations where I admit that I guess after a while, I kind of, because I was in IT and I guess I got used to it. But you could certainly feel that sense of isolation because people are doing things. I mean, especially I've been in cultural things where they're singing songs, Hindi songs and things like that or whatever. So it's so you definitely feel like the sort of the outsider looking in when you are, in that kind of, in that kind of a company. So I think it's, especially if you're in a very ethnic, the more ethnic it is, if they've been in America for a number of years, if they've kind of integrated in, then you're less likely to see that. But if they're just kind of fresh off the boat, so to speak, you're more than likely to see a lot more of that. Because again, even though they can speak English, again, it may not just be a language that they're as comfortable in, because like I said, it's the third language typically for people who are coming straight from India.
No, I definitely understand that. Like I've been in situations like multiple times. People are they can't speak the language. Like a lot of my coworkers they know English very well, but they like speaking their natural language, Spanish. You can't say anything. That's different and right. My boss says all the time. She's yelling. I'm like, and I told her, you need to stop doing that because one of these days somebody's going to report you to HR because you cannot tell them to speak fucking English because that's not right what you're doing. Like if you're more comfortable speaking their language, you have no choice. You have to abide.
Gotcha. All right, let's continue with the video. Let's get to the next portion. I think this is
Ella, Gavin, what is souvlaki? Have some souvlaki.
Oh no, thanks. I'm vegan.
Vegan?
It means I don't eat meat.
What? You don't eat meat?
Is that like my big fat Greek wedding?
I'm Greek. I don't need to see that movie. What are you? Some sort of hippie?
Papa, they're hipsters.
Hipster, ladyboy. He doesn't eat meat.
That's okay. This animal eats fruta.
Getting her dad to like you is a big. So if I went to if I was a vegetarian, I went to what would your mom think of me if I told her I was vegetarian?
She would probably shake her fucking head like, not another one. Because she's done doing this vegan people. She hates vegan people, and I don't blame her. I hate them too. Because, they're paying the extra cook for her. Because vegans eat eggs. I'll tell you the story. I don't care if she's watching or not because I'm not, whatever. My ex, she was a vegetarian. Her was vegan, so she usually makes soup for everybody. My mom, when she cooked for somebody, she cooks for everybody. And I told her, "Ma, don't use any animal products." She goes to me 6 months later. She goes, "No, it was 2 days later." She goes, "I gotta tell you something, but you're not gonna get mad at me." I'm like, "What the fuck did you do?" The first word I was like, "You know that soup? I use actual chicken in it." I'm like, whoa. What do you mean you actual chicken? She goes to like, "Yeah, Lizzie's and her fucking daughter, stupid Cynthia. I put a chicken broth and then you know shit. So fuck the veganist." I'm like, "Great, Mom, great."
Wow.
I don't feel bad one bit. It is what it is.
Yeah. But to this point here, again, getting her dad to like, so again, if I'm going in to win the affection, well, I probably already earned her affection, but I have to be strategic and get the father's approval. So definitely making sure that I have his that I have his approval is going to be is going to be important.
So, A, yes, and B, I want to touch base on the food for a second or more. There is no such thing in Greece as a vegan or a vegetarian. The only time you become vegan or vegetarian is when you fast for communion for a week.
Right.
If you don't fasting, you're eating meat all the fucking time.
Right.
If you go to somebody's family like, "Oh, they throw creas, I don't eat meat," they're gonna look at you like, "Yeah, nice one. You're eating meat. You don't have any choice." But I don't know. I really no. You're eating fucking meat. You're not. Then you can get the fuck out of my house, Mike. Get the fuck out of my house. You're not going to see my daughter again, and get that fucking hippie shit, literally like he said, and kick fucking rocks because you're not going to fucking see my daughter. You're going to eat fucking meat, or you disrespecting my house.
Wow.
You have two
Takes
choices.
it to that level. Wow.
Oh yeah, they're not. Veganism doesn't exist in Greece.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. All right. Let's.
Somebody gonna say in the comments. I know this comment like, "Oh, but statistic." Trust me, I know my country.
Right.
Statistics are lying.
But they're always talking about the Mediterranean diet. It's supposed to be healthy for you, so I would think
Yeah,
that included Greek diet as well.
You know what makes it so
it's not devoid of animal products. So they say it's it's definitely a very healthy diet with a lot of the oils, the olive oil, and the monounsaturated and stuff like that. So but it doesn't mean it's meatless. Yeah.
If you want to know the secret of it, you want to know it?
Probably the food is fresher, probably.
All right, come closer. Everybody, come a little closer. I can tell you guys, right? We don't use steroids in our meat. Let's try that for a start.
That would help. Help. Absolutely.
And then
so we can
obesity too.
Yeah.
Go ahead, let's finish the video.
Yeah, let's finish this up and we'll close out the show. I think there's one more segment left, if we could.
Miss Agalopoulos.
We can't see it, boss man. Can you bring it back up? We can't see it on the display.
I think he fell asleep again.
I hope not. There we go. Just back it up just a little bit.
Right there.
Miss Agalopoulos. Your daughters, I think they're both very attractive.
I'm sorry, did you just hit on my sister? So we're both
I
very
said you're both
attractive?
very attractive.
Yeah, what is that? He's a black, that's what that is. You're hitting my sister, she's barely 18. Okay, she's a kid. Does that make you feel good? Does that make you feel good? Oh, nah. You barely ain't anything. You need to add something. Fight party.
Okay. So be prepared for arguments that heat up very quickly, and then it's then forgotten in a matter of minutes. And yes, pretty much everything can be fixed with food.
So the first part, yes, because that's how I am. Every woman I argue with, and like 2 seconds later, like I'm arguing her and go like, all right, let's just. And next minute, I know I'm like trying to kiss her. I'm like, we're just arguing. Why are you trying to get like? The argument ended like 30 seconds ago. What the fuck? It's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
They're holding grudges the whole fucking night. I'm like, it's not a big deal. It's over with. We argued. So this is how we are. You argue, you forgive, you kiss, you fuck. Very simple. Those are the parents. But not American women. American women are fucking arguing the whole fucking night. Duct tape. For American women, my solution is duct tape, guys, or earplugs. I'm dead serious, bro.
Right.
Like, what can you just argue, forgive, and make up? What's the problem with that? So, food, yeah, I guess you can use food as a peace offering if you really want. But I don't know if these American women will go for peace offerings here.
So in Greek culture, so grudges aren't typically held.
No.
You know, but certainly, again, it seems like you guys are very passionate. So again, a couple, you can be fighting for a minute and then making love the next minute, basically.
Pretty much. You saw how they're arguing, and then we're like, okay, here, baby, have some feta, just like that.
And it's over. Awesome. All right. Very interesting. I think is that it? Do we have? I think we got another minute left. 30 seconds.
Yeah, we got another minute. Let's finish it up. Just everybody through it.
Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty much the video. So again, some interesting things. Add a little levity about dating, but yeah. I mean, certainly. I think, like I said, dating. At least the way it's being done now, and again, it certainly once you add social media to it, I think it gets certainly a lot more complex. And again, just call me old school. I still think meeting someone, if you can meet someone in person, have a conversation, I think that's still my preferred. But I don't mind certainly hookups. I don't mind meeting someone at a party. I don't mind being introduced to someone. I think those are certainly very good means or allowing people to make suggestions, but but they should also know what your expectations are. So don't be talking about, I want you to meet my cousin Helga, when and she's not my type, but you think that she would be, you think I would be good for her, but you got to know me and be like, look, I think she would be good for you. So I think part of that is also communication with your friends and whatnot. They have to have an understanding of what you are, rather than you just trying to push someone off of me because, they're single or whatnot, so I need to get them somebody. It's like it goes both ways. But I'm certainly up for, more traditional means by which people can meet, traditional ways, again, social community ways that people can meet. I think those are still good options, even in this social media culture that we're in. And certainly you made the point earlier that I think that's a direction that you think, that you would like to see yourself in, or that you think you would like to see, how your dating in the future goes.
Like I said, meeting in person is the best way to do it. Every good relationship I ever had, we always met in person through work, through a friend, through a party. Oops, I bumped into you by accident. Oh, you said you made a compliment. Oh, I like your cologne. Oh, I like your hair. Oh, whatever the case is. Whatever engaged that conversation, me or her, is always me in person. Or every good conversation I had, that is the one I always work the best for me. And I will say that to the day I fucking croak. Hopefully no time soon.
Wow. But with that, we come to the end of the show. Good conversation tonight. Thank you. So for everybody participating, my man Eric in the building tonight. Yeah, European chicks that I dated were more chill than the American ones. I mean, obviously it's a big world out there that's getting more global. And one thing for sure, you may be Russian wouldn't be scary to date. I've met some nice Russian women. I mean, I think there's good women in every.
Russian women and men who come to the church, they're sweet people.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all
the culture is thinking of Putin bullshit. That's politics. Don't think of that. The people are different.
Yeah, exactly. And I think love can be found anywhere. I certainly think there's still plenty of love to be found in the United States. I don't believe this. When people say, "Oh, there's no more good American women left," men get your passports and go overseas or whatnot. I'm not buying into that. I think you just have to be selective and go through your numbers to get what you want. But again, don't at the same time don't close off doors. If an opportunity for you to find love elsewhere with someone from another country or whatever, I think certainly you can be open to that. But again, at the end of the day, you need to know yourself, know your values, and what you're looking for. And again, this is about selection. This isn't about, it's not like sales where you need volume. You only need one. And if you find someone who you compatible with, who you can rock with, then I'd say go for it. And certainly in this country, obviously we're a multitude of different ethnicities and whatnot that are getting together. I've seen more. All you have to do, certainly, if you notice, Peter, if you're in the Northeast, go to any IKEA store in the Northeast, and you will see every mix, every kind of relationship. I'm not talking about just black and white. I'm talking about East Indian, dating Japanese, and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it is such a wide variety of relationship. If you just go to an IKEA store on a Saturday, you'll see all the different couples and all the different pairings of how people.
I see. Like, I go to Crossings, the outlets here.
Yeah.
You see all different couples, but
all combinations that you wouldn't see, Latino and Arab, right? You'll see all kinds of combinations, but people certainly are able to find love where they find it. But dating, like I said, I do think that. I think dating should serve a purpose. Now, again, if you don't want to get married, then date and have your fun and whatnot. But I think if you have intentions of getting married, I think you should definitely be selective in your dating criteria and go on fewer but better quality of dates rather than just randomly just checking people out. I think, certainly with time and resources being the way they are, I think you need to be a bit more selective with that. But any other points as we close out the show?
Yeah, just be careful you date. Simple.
There you go. And just to give and just to give a few plugs, I mean, stay tuned in to the Black Men Unfiltered Network. Monday we typically have, our Pain. He has Sugar comes on Tuesdays. It's Flipping Tables. Wednesday, the one-on-one sports show that I co-host with the panel. Also, Boss Man, thank you for being with us tonight, Boss Man. Tune into his show, Standing on Business, on Wednesday on Wednesday nights. So, you have shows, like I said, throughout the whole week. Fridays, Barbershop. Also on Thursdays, Lit. Again, hope you're feeling better soon. I know, he has a show that I believe that him and he has hosts on Thursday about, on dating and whatnot, from an Alabamian's perspective. Be sure on Thursdays to check out his show. And also Sparta, if you want to plug some of your upcoming content on Sparta HQ Network.
Yeah, let me just get to the schedule really fast. I'll let you guys know what's up with the Spartan areas. So on Wednesday, we have our new show with David and Wally, Anime Unleashed. They'll be going over Gotcha Man, Battle of the Planets this week. And on Thursday, we're going to be talking about our relationships, a lot of work. So join us for the conversation. And on Saturday, we're talking about WWE catch lines. That's all I was going to say. And next Sunday, we'll be back up here with an open panel. We haven't done one in a while. We
haven't done one in a while. So again, for those of you who follow us, thank you for following us every week. We'll have a sort of a call in, so you can join the conversation, and anything you have for us about anything that we talked about in the past, or just anything you want to just chop it up with. We'll have an open line for you guys to come up participate in the conversation.
I'm not done. You don't get ahead of me, Paul. You got ahead of me. On the 16th is already posted. I'm very excited to announce we have Dwayne White, veteran comedian, on the show. His first Netflix special is coming around the corner. So we are one of the first shows on the air. He's going to be interviewing with us. So I'm excited for that interview, to be honest with you. I don't know about you, Paul. I'm very excited.
Yeah, very much so. I was just reading his bio prior to the show that you sent. So definitely looking forward to having a great conversation with him, for sure.
Yeah, I've seen some of his stuff. He's hilarious. So you know what, we should have both CQ and him on at the same time, and have like a comedian face off, because they're both comedians.
Right.
They see who has the funniest jokes. I put money on the way.
So a comedian battle, I guess.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting too. That'd be funny. Yeah, we'll see if we can put that together. But again, we thank you once again for joining us on the Gray. We went over a little bit tonight, but again, good conversation overall. For all of you who had decided to join us tonight, again, make sure before you leave, if you haven't hit the like button, both on the Black Men Unfiltered Network as well as the Sparta HQ Network, make sure you hit the like buttons as you leave. Really supports us. We thank you for being with us tonight. Thank you for the super chats that were dropped to us tonight. Again, we really appreciate it. And we just hope to continue to give you good conversation, good dialogue, and conversations that you can continue to have in other spaces. I mean, we've been, one thing that really makes us happy is when content that we may talk about on these shows filters into other shows. And so if we can help foster a positive environment for dialogue, that is certainly one of the aims of the gray area. So for myself, Mr. Bennett, he is
This is Sparta!
the ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka this has been the gray area. You guys enjoy your week. Take care. God bless. We'll see you next time.